Is Earl Perry Charlton. Having stemmed from a family of blacksmiths, Earl broke tradition and ventured into the world of business. Earl left high school before graduation to pursue work. Now it is strange to think that someone as successful as Earl did not complete a high school education, but at the time only 1 in 6 enrollees received a high school diploma. It was not seen as being necessary to complete high school in order to be successful in the business world. Earl began making his first few dollars by working as an errand and paper boy, cattle drover, and part-time clerk in the village store around his hometown, Chester. In 1878, Earl left Chester for Hartford, where he worked in a retail store on Asylum Street. In 3 years following his move to Hartford, he moved to Boston and never returned to Connecticut again. While in Boston, Earl became a clerk and later traveling salesman for Thomas C. Newell, a distributor of pots, pans, and window accessories, who distributed products throughout the New England and New York territory. After working and connecting with Newell's clients for a successful 8 years, Earl quit working as a traveling salesman in his mid-20s. Now, you may ask, what is an entrepreneur? An entrepreneur is someone who accepts the risks of running and starting a business. Earl established himself as an entrepreneur when partnering with his friend Seymour Knox in the field of 5 and 10 stores. The initial Charlton and Knox 5 and 10 store opened on the 22nd of February, 1890 in Fall River, Massachusetts. It was decided amongst Charlton and Knox that Charlton would manage the store, the first store, with complete control. The first location of a 5 and 10 store owned by Charlton and Knox was, like I said, in Fall River, Mass. Though anyone can establish themselves as an entrepreneur and create a business, it takes someone special and skilled to be a successful entrepreneur. After having invested $100 of merchandise to stock his shelves for opening day, Charlton found his shelves empty at the end of the workday. To recuperate from the successful business that he had, he closed shop the following day to restock the shelves with $200 worth of stock for the following day, only to sell out just as quickly. Now you may ask, how did Knox and Charlton stores, 5 and 10 stores might I add, become Woolworths? In April of 1911, 201 years ago next month, Frank Woolworth called together his brother Charles, Fred Kirby, Seymour Knox, and Earl Charlton, at which meeting he proposed a giant merger. Over the next 8 months, negotiations and contracts were arranged, and on the 15th of December 1911, the new Woolworth Co. was incorporated. It was decided that the total of 596 stores that all 5 entrepreneurs had established would be named as Woolworth stores after the 1st of January 1912. Though there was an exception that all founders' original stores or mother stores would remain their founder's name. Now moving on to the topic of philanthropy, which Earl Perry Charlton was a great philanthropist, may I add. Philanthropy is a concern for human welfare and advancement, usually in the form of donations of money, property, or work to needy persons. Earl Perry Charlton displayed tremendous amounts of philanthropic behavior for the sole reason that he was a great person and great businessman. Starting off with Charlton's philanthropy, the second edema. Prior to merging with Woolworth, Earl Charlton named a powerboat which he named Edma after his wife Ida. Not long before World War I, Charlton acquired a larger powerboat in which he named Edma II. To show off Charlton's great generosity, immediately after the war was declared, Charlton patriotically loaned it to the Coast Guard for use, in which they gratefully accepted, and within a 205-day period logged over 4,000 miles, and to include that they returned the powerboat with 1 cylinder blown out. Charlton continued to work on business, service, personal interest, and charity until his death in 1930. He was a man with a golden heart, one that carried many talents and a strong passion for charity. Prior to entry into World War I and Charlton's chance to aid the Coast Guard, in 1914 he aided the French War by supplying the armies with loomed cloth for his mill. Charlton donated a lot of his time and effort when America entered into World War I. Charlton was head of raising funds for the war effort in the form of loans that were sponsored by the Treasury. It was later requested that Charlton assisted the government in recording activities for the National Archives. Charlton did all that was asked of him with much pride and great amounts of joy. In addition to the many services that Charlton provided for the war effort and the government during the times of World War I, he made himself very involved and worked with the hospital in Fall River built by Dr. Phelan Truesdale. Charlton's charitable contributions to the Fall River Hospital began with a $35,000 donation, and his involvement certainly did not end there. After an additional donation of $500,000, the largest contribution ever made to any institution in the New England area at that time. With Charlton's generous donations, a plan was established to build a north wing consisting of properly equipped laboratory storage space as well as recovery and operating rooms. Due to Charlton's enormous impact on the hospital, it was quickly decided by Dr. Truesdale that the new addition be named the Earl P. Charlton Surgery and Laboratory Building. It is also believed that Charlton continued his line of donations to the hospital and donated a state-of-the-art ambulance with spare wheels on the front fenders. Soon after making a positive and tremendous impact in the Fall River Hospital, Charlton donated $50,000 to the New England Medical Center's drive for funds. With the amazing things that Earl Charlton has done in his life, one would be not surprised to hear that it's dear friends with President Calvin Coolidge. During the end of Coolidge's presidential term, Coolidge approached Charlton with a request to lead a fundraising effort for the Clark School of Deaf, a school that was dear to the hearts of Coolidge and his wife. It comes to no surprise that Charlton took on the duties of the project, formed a committee, and announced that they were to raise $2 million. To lead fundraising efforts, Charlton himself contributed $110,000. His generosity was followed by many other prominent men, and by December 1928, a mere few months before the end of Coolidge's term, Mrs. Coolidge was able to present the Clark School for Deaf with a check of the promised $2 million. It is unfortunate to note on November 20th of 1930, Charlton departed from the physical world. Although Charlton was not able to physically give any longer, that did not mean that his giving stopped entirely. In his last will, Charlton left his estate among family, friends, and most definitely charitable causes that would see permanency. Among leaving his family well off after his death, he also divided his assets among his staff. The bulk of Charlton's assets were divided into two sections, the Charlton Charity Trust and the Charlton Building Trust. Each was left with respectively 10,000 shares of Woolworth's capital stock and land he owned in and around Fall River. When Charlton died, he left an estate of $32 million, with over $2,900,000 being given away to solely charity. Charlton's success is seen as being incredibly unique. Charlton earned every dollar honorably and with direct impulse to alleviate the sufferings of others. Charlton can be paired to great men such as Andrew Carnegie, John D. Rockefeller, who have said to have both given away just as much money to charities as Charlton. Though comparing contributions to portions in their holdings, Earl P. Charlton's donations cannot be put on the same level as Carnegie and Rockefeller's. Earl Perry Charlton is a man who worked from the ground up. He had an honest name and provided only the best for himself, for his family, but humanity as well. Charlton is today's Mark Zuckerberg in terms of being an entrepreneur, but no one can be compared to Charlton's in a philanthropic aspect. As it states in the Charlton Story, even today, Charlton's benevolence benefits thousands yet unborn in 1930 through provision of facilities for hospital care, new procedures, medical research, and medical education.